U.S. leaders made a deal to raise the debt ceiling over the holiday weekend. Today, that deal faces its first big test. I'm Jeff Pierre, and this is The 7 from The Washington Post. It's Tuesday, May 30th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. First up, Russia's capital city was hit by a drone strike this morning. The city's mayor said 2 residential buildings in Moscow were damaged. No serious injuries were reported. Russian officials said around 25 drones were involved in the attack. In Ukraine, Russia launched another assault on Kyiv. This was their 3rd air attack on Ukraine's capital in 24 hours. Ukrainian officials said at least 1 person was killed and at least 4 were wounded by falling debris. Number 2. The debt ceiling deal faces its first crucial test this afternoon. The House Rules Committee, which has 4 Democrats and 9 Republicans, will meet to consider the bill. The deal was announced Saturday, and it raises the debt ceiling past the 2024 election. The agreement includes some cuts to federal spending, though less than Republicans had wanted. It also clears the way for a controversial natural gas pipeline. The government will run out of money to pay its bills as soon as next Monday. The debt ceiling must be raised by then to avoid financial disaster. Number 3. Opening statements start today in the trial over the 2018 synagogue massacre. The shooting at the Tree of Life synagogue in Pittsburgh left 11 people dead and 2 others injured. It was the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history. A 50-year-old man is facing 63 hate crime and gun-related charges. He could face the death penalty if convicted. Jury selection took 4 weeks. The next phase of the trial is expected to last at least 3 weeks. Uganda imposed the death penalty for some same-sex activity. That's story number 4. An anti-LGBTQ bill was signed into law yesterday. Anyone found to have had sex with a person of the same gender faces life imprisonment or, in some cases, death. This is some of the most extreme anti-homosexuality legislation in the world. It could also have consequences beyond the East African country. Ugandan activist Delavi Papade Kogala talks about the potential ripple effects.
This is bad news. It's not just for queer Ugandans, but for queer people across the African continent.
This law is also part of a wider crackdown on LGBTQ plus rights in Uganda. Number 5.
The Heat are going to the NBA Finals. What a win on the road. 3rd win in this series for the Heat in Miami.
The Miami Heat will face the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. Last night, the Heat defeated the Celtics 103-84 in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics tried to make NBA history last night by being the first team to come back from being down 3-0 in a 7-game series. But the Heat were able to push through the final stretch with help from Jimmy Butler and Caleb Martin. The Nuggets will host Game 1 of the NBA Finals in Denver on Thursday night. The Nuggets swept the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals and enter this series as the favorites. A giant pile of logs is storing millions of tons of carbon. That's story number 6. This logjam is in northwest Canada. It's nearly as big as Manhattan, and some of the wood has been sitting there for more than a millennium. The logs have been protected from decay by cold temperatures, but a new study found that that could change because of climate change. The wood may be trapping about 3.4 million tons of carbon. That's equal to emissions from 2.5 million cars for a year. If the wood starts to break down as temperatures warm, all that carbon could be released into the atmosphere. And at number 7, too much caffeine can lead to sleep deprivation. This is tied to your circadian rhythm and a chemical that plays a major role in the regulation of sleep. Experts say that caffeine masks the sleep signals that this chemical is sending to your body. That can lead to a vicious cycle of less sleep, more caffeine, and even less sleep until you have a huge sleep deficit. But you can break this cycle. Caffeine is usually metabolized within 4 to 6 hours. So try to avoid having caffeine after lunch or even earlier, and set a regular time for sleep. And just like that, you are all caught up from the long weekend. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to leave us a rating or a review wherever you listen. We love hearing from you. I'm Jeff Pierre, and I'll meet you back here tomorrow.